Are you sabotaging your own career without realizing it? In this really short video, we examine 3 common mistakes professionals sometimes make that stall their career. Stick around for the last one, which can be a real showstopper, so to speak. Welcome to Accounts Payable Soundbites, the program where we share tips and explain simple and complex accounts payable issues in short, concise soundbites. Okay, so let's start off with number one. And I have to tell you that, especially this first one, is more of an issue for women than it is for men, although without a doubt it is an issue for certain men. But this is, at least in my experience, a bigger issue for women. Okay, and so issue number one, not letting management know that you are interested in moving up. Okay, taking the next step, so to speak. Now, the first time I ran into this early in my career, I was talking to my boss, and somehow this came up, and I almost wanted to scream at him, which I didn't, thankfully. What would ever give you the idea that that was me? But, you can't do that, and luckily I managed to curb my tongue. So, the important thing, and this is especially for women, is you want to make sure that management realizes, hey, you're interested in being promoted, you're interested in moving up the career ladder, and of course, you're interested in more money, although you don't want to focus it that way. So, how can you do this if you suspect they don't see you this way? Number one, when there's an opening, ask for it. You just go in very politely, say, I'd like to be considered for the job. This will be especially true, for example, if you are a supervisor and the manager leaves, etc. Now, when you do that, you absolutely take a chance that you won't get it. So you're putting yourself out there a little bit. But if you don't let them know that you're interested, then you can't complain when they hire someone else and you got passed over. Okay. In companies where they have a formal posting program and every job must be posted, this is kind of a non-issue because if you see something that you're interested in, you post for it. It's that simple. Now, sometimes when there's a formal posting program, you're also supposed to let your boss know that you are interested in that posting. Okay, and the beauty of that, if you will, and I really do mean this, even though that might be a difficult conversation to have, is this is another way of letting your manager know that you're interested in moving up and you're not satisfied with just staying in your current position. Okay, you get it. Make people aware. Now, second mistake that people make, mistake number two, is just the opposite. They talk too much about wanting to be promoted, wanting to take the next step. I'm not going to stay here for the rest of my career. And that also can turn people off. So you're sitting there saying, well, that's great. What's the right mix? How can I let management know without being obnoxious about it? One of the places where I see that is a good time to make your manager aware is during your annual review. Towards the end of it, you might say, I'm interested in being promoted, not necessarily tomorrow, but sometime in the near future. And, what can I do to improve my chances or something like that? And, sometimes if there's no opening, there's no opening. That's all there is to it. Okay, so you want to find a happy medium there, but still make sure people know that, you're not interested in having whatever the current position you're in is for the rest of your life. Okay, now before we get to the real barn burner, I'd like to invite you to subscribe. It's completely private. You can unsubscribe at any time. And by ringing that bell next to the subscribe button on YouTube, you'll be notified every time we post new accounts payable content, which we do 2 or 3 times a week. And by the way, you don't need a YouTube account to subscribe. You can subscribe if you had a Gmail account. Okay. All righty. So number 3, and that is expecting to be paid before being promoted or before taking on new assignments. Now, this is a touchy one and one that I want to just talk about in a little bit more detail. And I want to make sure that you understand the difference between this and expecting to be paid for every little additional task you take on. Sometimes it's not so easy to tell the difference because most of us have in our job descriptions other duties as a side. Now, you might be concerned that if you take on a new position and there is no change in title or compensation, that you'll end up doing it forever with no change in title. And so you want to find a happy medium. And you might say something like, okay, can we do this on a trial basis? So, for example, if you're a supervisor and the manager has left and you're going to take on the manager's responsibilities and they're not ready to give you the title yet for whatever the reason is, there's usually a myriad of corporate and reasons that have to do with, the politics, et cetera, et cetera. You might say something like, okay, well, how about I do it for the next 4 months and then we sit down and we reevaluate whether I should have this position or you're going to bring somebody new in. Okay. So that's when there's a new title, but you can really turn people off by, every time you're asked to do something new and take on a little additional responsibilities. If you say, well, you're going to give me a raise, because nobody likes to hear that. And by the way, just one last point about this. If there is a position that you want and you apply for it and they say, hey, we don't think you're ready, again, the supervisor to the manager's slot, you can say, hey, how about we try it for a few months and then you can make a final determination as to whether I should get it or you're going to go out and hire somebody else. And, you may get the opportunity that way that you wouldn't have gotten otherwise. Of course, anytime you do this, you're putting yourself out there and you may not get it. But, no risk, no reward. All righty. So those are the three things: not letting management know, talking about it too much, and then expecting to be paid every time you take on any little additional responsibility. That's a difficult one to navigate sometimes. Brenda Bernstein joined us to discuss creating a killer LinkedIn profile in episode 92. On YouTube, a link will appear momentarily to the left. And as always, we greatly appreciate those comments, those thumbs up, those subscribes, and those shares. Good luck.